Well, here's Morning Crossfire for you right here now. Your info. Stay with me. I'll be back with more to share with you.
Live on 95.1. With Femi D Live. Nigeria Info. Abuja. Let's talk.
So the affair around, as we have it, the APC chairman expressed views about governance and about, what it means to get a PDP member from River State in position of power, top power in the government of an APC and the likes of that. He tried to explain it to the APC team in Rivers. I'm not sure whether that explanation worked out well, but it really did make an attempt. Take a listen to viewpoint about things. It was in Rivers about chairman of the APC, Ganduje. Yes, that's for. He explained things and how they could be. Take a listen to some part of the line of thinking.
This Morning Crossfire.
Even by the skills. So we know the politics. The power. Federal government delegation at that time. And we knew how you were intimidated by federal government at that time. Because it chose to go to APC. There is not
Chairman and members of NW.
A very, very important state. It's a swing state, I can tell you that. For election in here. It is an old, really rich state, which is important not only to party but to the nation. Population is there, which is important. Election, enlightenment for people to come for election is there, which is important for election. Most importantly is that history. In the Second Republic, I was in Port Harcourt. We held a commission in Port Harcourt. And I knew the crowd is still ringing in my head. During NPN, which is swept, the election of the 5 senators, when it was 5 senators, not 3. So you can see how important your state in politics. I assure you, the founding members of APC in Delta State, we know how much we know how much you suffer. I started telling you, we cannot allow suffering to wither away like that.
This is More.
What it becomes quite confusing is the fact that it describes River State as a state. Okay, that's saying as a state that's somewhere between here and there. What essentially that means? So they have the locals, the city minister there, a very, very influential factor that did lead to the victory of Ashwa Ahmed Tinubu in state. And of course, he also made an attempt, successfully supported governor in the states as well, the Governor Fubara of PDP in it. However, the likes of Toyin was the gubernatorial candidate last election in River State. Wonders, how do you make such an arrangement? How does this work out? Do you be here and at the same time? Now, here's another thing you should also follow on. There are talks about how a security operators talks about how the likes of Boko Haram did emerge to become a monster. Play part of what he said now. Just listen to this.
This is Morning Crossfire.
I proposed the set of a Center for Contemporary Security Affairs because I saw the need for new approaches to be introduced to the teaching of security studies, and that was actually ignited by the Commandant's College Jaji, where I was brought on board in 2012. That was about 2 or 3 years after the Boko Haram terrorism had become a big deal. It happened that the column of our military officers was not that comprehensive in terms of asymmetric warfare. And then there was need for orientation, because the Nigerian military traditionally was trained to deal with external aggressors. And then when we fought the Civil War, you know there was a clear boundary demarcated. So it was like fighting an external aggressor. But in the case of Ram, Boko Haram was like having an infection in your body, something that is, depreciating your person, and then you not just cut off your leg, if that is what infection is, or cut off your hand. You must find a way to fight it anyway without killing yourself. That is the analogy I can to what Boko Haram constituted. The Nigerian military found it a bit difficult to go on full offensive against an enemy that was not that visible, that easily blended within the civil populace, and even be a little girl, be the attacker, trapped with time bomb or whatnot. So while we're still contending with that, the issue of Fulani herdsmen or banditry, as we prefer to call it, to rear its head gradually, but not on a closer scale, as it turned out to be effectively from 2015, 2016 till now. And these are things that require new approach of dealing with them, not just the old gunboat of an enemy, aim at it and get it down. Because those who are involved in all these things, they are people that easily blend with the populace. Or how do you distinguish an herdsman who is peaceful from one who is not peaceful till there is an attack? We recall during the time of General Babangida in power, it was that the Nigerian police that was primarily responsible for domestic security had reached a point where he could no longer be left alone to deal with the issue of insecurity. There was a huge surge in armed robbery across the country. That was the time I started erecting prison walls around their houses, and I began to see people using some barbed wires, even over those fences that are as Kirikiri walls. And they didn't stop at that. They now started erecting huge gates on neighborhood entrances, whereby you want to enter Adeniji Street. You will see a huge gate, and you will find security men there. And you will see notice like, you are bikers allowed to pass after 10. This and this, all of instruction. And then people are not done, they will still go and get ferocious looking dog, keep in their houses, so on and so forth. So General Gida realized that getting out of hand, how he said that under a military rule, insecurity had become the order of the day in the whole country. So he now took recourse what I have had cost to civil mobilization for security. And the modus operandi, as we all know, was that each neighborhood will arrange themselves into vigilante groups. That was an era where you turn to lose your sleep. So if those on way in this neighborhood were responsible for...
This is more Crossfire.
I'll back with more. Stay with us right here, Nigel.
Do you want...
Nothing breaks the news like the news. Trust me, I can prove it. I do it every morning on Morning Crossfire from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Nigeria Info 95.1. And I'm Femi D. Amede. Join the biggest conversation around the national politics every day in a way is trustworthy, full of passion, and yes, covers the biggest politics and the stories that matter to you. See, you have all the reasons to find out what's going on in Nigeria and be it differently. Let's talk. That's the way to go, even this morning.
is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This 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 is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This 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 is Nigeria Info.
Chances of criminality, like armed robbers coming around, now move to a state of organized criminality where have criminal gangs in forests highways, farms, and so on and so forth. And then the need to now talking of Bakassi boys, OPC, what is it that we did in the southwest? Amotekun. In the north, they have in Benue, they have civilian JTF, and so on and so forth. All shades of police officials ago in Port Harcourt. Some young boys were arrested overnight by vigilante groups, and they weren't alive. And they took care of the burning, and the country was horrified. That is the kind of thing. And they are collected. They went to read overnight, and that they had their laptops and all that, but the vigilante people did not listen to them. And instead of arresting them or handing them over, they burnt those handsome, brilliant young boys alive. That is the kind of thing that we experience. We've all seen what happened in the southwest when we were trying to contain the, siege by bandits, whereby we veered gradually into nationalism. And then we had some people imagine champions, and then it was now going beyond the issue of securing the southwest, morphing into something. So these are some of the challenges that attend vigilantism. They now pose a question that, okay, vigilantism has this kind of shortcoming. Should we come together? Here are some posters there. Should we legalize it? And so on. I believe the discussion will go beyond that.
The morning Crossfire continues after this.
All right, welcome back. That's the analysis somebody has into that. By the way, happy birthday. Can I say that 25 years of Google, for those of you, it's been around for 25 years, and they continue to kill as they would. Did you know they're about to kill Google Cast? I don't know if you know it.
Yes, they're about to next year. So Google Podcast is moving to YouTube Music.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen because the same way Spotify with music and then blended podcasting.
Yeah,
I knew
by buying Anchor.
Yeah, buying Anchor. So they just needed to. Oh, go. Congrats to you. But no, there's a lot of adventure that they do. That makes it really funny. Okay, let me share this with you as well. Do you remember the Minister of Sports? Yes, I'm sure if you remember, Solomon Dalung, he's been speaking about how everybody who's above 50 years should be aimed of themselves with the kind of reality they've created for Nigeria till then. Take a listen to this.
And I think most of us have been privileged by the grace of God to have 50 years and above. We are ashamed of ourselves. This is because we have the opportunity, we have the privilege of benefiting from the colonial legacy of a good foundation of education for this country. And under our own watch, education had not only collapsed, but education is in a lamentable state. As happened, I sometimes shed tears and blame myself as to when I was admitted into secondary school in 1977, my parents only bought a cell for me, and every other thing needed of me by government. And I started signing the first voucher in my life in school, which was transferred from school home. Throughout my years in secondary, I know the cost of either book or instructional materials. Everything was provided by government. Till date, I find it ridiculous when my children ask me, Daddy, give me money to buy pen, bureau. Because all they had to do was to raise my bureau in the class when it finished, and my teacher would supplement it. So what moral justification have I today? Turn back and look at we are giving out to our children as education. Yet, we are still comfortable. Therefore, I think we have missed almost everything. And if we are talking about insecurity, the solution is found in the educational system.
This is Crossfire.
Solomon Dalong, former Minister of Sport, Youth and Sports, many of you do. As it stands, he did an attempt to become a senator under the flagship of SDP. I met him last year. That didn't work out anyway. Didn't work out, much of that. But it's time to talk to the team, honest, to hear about their services and all the opportunity can provide for you if you go them. Okay, let's talk to them now.
This is
Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.